1977. To the world, Elvis Presley was still the invincible king of rock and roll. But behind the gates of Graceland, a tragic clock was ticking. In this video, we trace the final 8 months of a legend, from the high-energy stages of the Midwest to the silent, dark hallways of his bedroom. This is the timeline of Elvis Presley's final year. January, the silent struggle. The year did not begin on stage. Elvis spent January 1977 almost entirely at Graceland. There were no concerts, no bright lights, only isolation. His sleep schedule was completely inverted. He often stayed awake through the night and slept during the day, battling severe insomnia that sometimes kept him awake for days at a time. Prescription medications had become a constant presence, dulling his energy and clouding his focus. Those closest to him noticed changes. The confidence was still there, but the spark in his eyes was fading, replaced by exhaustion and dependence. January was quiet, but beneath the silence, his health was already unraveling. February, back on the road. In February, Elvis returned to touring. Despite visible physical strain, his voice remained powerful. Night after night, he stepped onto the stage carrying a body that was failing him. He suffered from flu-like symptoms, chronic pain, and extreme fatigue. Yet once the music started, something transformed. On February 21st, his performance of Hurt stunned the audience. Raw, emotional, and commanding. It felt as if Elvis was channeling his physical suffering directly into the music. Off stage, however, his liver and kidneys were struggling under the weight of years of medication. March. Plans, promises, and paperwork. After the February 1977 tour, Elvis returned to Memphis, intending to slow down, at least briefly. He spoke openly about taking a vacation to Hawaii, hoping to show the islands to Ginger Alden. Before leaving, however, Elvis focused on unfinished business. Among those matters was a personal loan to Dr. George Nick Dikopoulos, an additional $55,000 set at 7% interest, with a repayment schedule extending over 25 years. Then, in the early morning hours of March 3rd, at his father Vernon's urging, Elvis made a decision he had postponed for years. He finally signed his will. The document named Vernon Presley as executor and trustee, granting him full responsibility for the health, care, and welfare of Elvis himself, his grandmother, and Lisa Marie Presley, designated as the sole heir. Ginger Alden was present and served as a witness. Ginger Alden, a local beauty queen, holding titles such as Miss Traffic Safety and Miss Mid-South, and a runner-up for Miss Tennessee University, would become the last woman Elvis loved, and later, the last person to see him alive on the night of his death. Elvis had first met Ginger on November 19, 1976, when his longtime friend George Klein introduced him to Terry Alden, the reigning Miss Tennessee. Terry arrived with her 2 younger sisters, Rosemary and Ginger. Although George assumed Elvis would be drawn to Terry, Elvis immediately noticed the youngest sister. What began as a simple Saturday night flight to view the Memphis skyline soon turned into an impulsive trip to Las Vegas, chaperoned by his cousin Patsy and her husband. Before boarding the plane, Ginger called her mother to ask for permission. March brought a temporary retreat back to Memphis. Elvis surrounded himself with comfort and familiarity. He spent time at Graceland watching movies late into the night, singing gospel music around the piano, and enjoying moments of calm with his fiancée, Ginger Alden. Talk of marriage circulated quietly, but his health issues continued to escalate. He was developing serious eye problems, and the glare of stage lights caused intense pain. Though the atmosphere felt peaceful, this was not recovery. It was a pause before the storm. April, the warning. The breaking point came in early April. On April 5th, Elvis was rushed to Baptist Memorial Hospital in Memphis. doctors discovered multiple severe conditions, including an enlarged colon, dangerously high blood pressure, and complications linked to long-term medication use. For the first time, scheduled appearances were cancelled. News of his hospitalization shocked fans around the world. The truth was impossible to hide now. The king was seriously ill. After more than a week in the hospital, Elvis was discharged. Almost immediately, he began planning his return to the stage. May and June, the last shows. May was spent preparing for another tour. In June, Elvis returned to performing, against medical advice. These concerts were unpredictable. Some nights were shaky, others unforgettable. On June 21st, Elvis delivered a haunting performance of Unchained Melody, standing alone at the piano. His body was visibly struggling, but his voice soared with astonishing power. On June 26, 1977, in Indianapolis, Elvis performed his final concert. He closed the show with Can't Help Falling in Love, waved gently to the crowd, and walked off the stage. No one knew it was goodbye. July, the withdrawal. July became a month of shadows. Elvis rarely left his bedroom at Graceland. The curtains stayed closed, the air conditioning ran constantly, and days blurred into nights. He spoke often about spirituality, destiny, and the upcoming tour scheduled to begin in August. He attempted rapid weight loss by barely eating, while his reliance on medication continued. His heart and body were under enormous strain. Those around him sensed a growing sense of urgency and fear. August, the final hours. On the night of August 15th, Elvis left Graceland briefly to visit the dentist. Just after midnight, he was photographed driving back through the gates, the final known image of Elvis Presley alive. He spent the night talking with friends, discussing future plans, and playing racquetball. In the early morning hours, he went into his bathroom to read. Later that morning, Elvis Presley was found unresponsive. At just 42 years old, the king of rock and roll was gone. Elvis didn't leave the world in front of a crowd. There was no final encore, no last bow. His story ended quietly, at home, far from the stage, but never far from the music. In his final months, Elvis wasn't chasing fame. He was holding on to purpose. Even as his body failed, his mind stayed on the next show, the next song, the next moment with his audience. 1977 wasn't the end of a legend. It was the final chapter of a man who gave everything he had, and gave it until there was nothing left. And that is why Elvis Presley is still remembered, long after the music stopped.